Hello and welcome to 2017. New year, new me, all that sort of thing. Right, now usually we only get to spend about a week with a test car, but just before the holidays, Volvo rang us up and said, would you like to spend a month in one of our cars? And we said sure. So here we go. This is my long-term review of the Volvo V40. So, what's different about this cross-country model? Well, given the name, you'd sort of expect it to have maybe all-wheel drive, but it's actually just a front-wheel drive, which is pretty much useless off-road. You do get some nice detailing, like the silver, which runs underneath the doors. As you can see, it does ride a little higher than a standard V40, maybe about an extra inch, which does give you some extra ground clearance. And then at the back, there's a silver diffuser which says Cross Country.
And this trim package has proved very popular in South Africa, with the Cross Country model accounting for about a third of V40 sales.
Funnily enough, this wasn't the first Volvo V40 that I was given for the holidays. The first one was a D4 R design. It was such a good looking thing, sat low and wide on these racy wheels. I honestly think it's the best looking Volvo that they sell. But an Uber driver drove into me, so that was the end of that. And Volvo said, please bring us that one back and we'll give you another one. And it turned out to be this Cross Country T4, which is a petrol model. But that gave me a really unique opportunity to drive two engines in the same car back to back. And you know what? I really miss the diesel. That's a good engine, that. It's got a whack of torque. It's so punchy. Just really strains at the steering wheel when you accelerate, when all the power's going through the front wheels. And you get into the petrol and it just doesn't have that punch. And also, the diesel is quite a bit more economical. I was averaging 6.9 to the 100 in the diesel, and here I'm averaging 9 liters to the 100. So that's about 20% better. And I think now I really understand the appeal of driving a diesel car. Even though it's about 20,000 Rand more than the equivalent petrol car, it really does represent a wonderful saving at the pumps. And you know, us car journalists are spoiled brats. Most of the time, our petrol is paid for. So when you're on holiday and you're paying for your fuel yourself, you really want to stretch every kilometer out of the tank.
The V40's interior has had some minor touch-ups over the years, but hasn't been overhauled in a while. But everything still feels of exceptional quality. The leatherwork in particular is impressive, and the back seats are comfy, if a little tight, for larger adults. But you can have them heated if you'd like.
This T4 Cross Country that I've been driving is a really smooth, very pleasant car to drive, very comfortable as well. I really like these front seats. What I like about the V40 is you can spec it with some really cool stuff. It's got lane keep assist, which will gently steer you between the lanes on the highway in case you start wandering off. And then as standard, it's got city safety, which up to 60 k's an hour will automatically brake if it thinks that you're not paying attention. It's also constantly monitoring the distance to the car in front, and I've got some little red lights here up ahead which light up to tell me to back off a little bit. It's got radar guided cruise control as well, which is just such a pleasure on the highway. And then my favorite feature, rear cross traffic alert. Now what this does is beep if a car is coming from behind you when you're trying to reverse out of a parking bay or out of a driveway onto the road. I've also found this V40 to be quite practical. The rear seats fold in a 60-40 split, and that opens up quite a lot of space. Even managed to get my mountain bike in the back with the front wheel taken off. But the boot also has a little trick up its sleeve. One of my pet hates is when you go shopping and you put your groceries in the boot and you get home and everything is just everywhere. The washing powder's made a break for freedom, the mayonnaise has gone missing, it's just a nightmare. But what I've loved about living with the Volvo V40 is that it seems to have a solution. This boot floor is actually a false floor. You lift it up like so, and it reveals this sort of new floor where it's a bit of a valley. It kind of drops down at a gentle slope, and what that means is that your shopping sits in this kind of cradle and it doesn't roll around. Now, I don't know if they intended to do this or if it's just some wonderful accident, but it really works. I never thought I'd be so excited about groceries. Right, the big decision. Would I actually buy a Volvo V40? Well, I might, but what I'd probably buy is another Volvo. You see, for 480,000 Rand, I think that's a bit much for this car. I'd rather take that money and purchase a second-hand Volvo XC60. That gives you that SUV ride height and that SUV presence on the road. It's also such a good-looking car too. It's a bit more practical and it will probably handle a gravel road a bit better as well. So I think what the V40's done for me is really get me interested in the brand. It showed me what the brand is capable of. And there's nothing wrong with that.